Hi everyone, it's Rachel and Anthony.
Hello.
From Don't Crop Me Now. Today Anthony's going to give you a little bit of a tour on how we build some of our raised beds.
Good morning everybody. Today I'm going to talk about our raised beds. So these are the old ones. These have been in place for around about 13-14 years. Now when we originally did these, what I did, so let's move over here so you can have a look. So what I did with these ones was I just used little metal brackets on the corners, and you can see that most of them have actually survived quite well. You know, there's not much rot, they're doing okay, and yeah, they've generally lasted a bit longer than I expected. However, some of them are a little bit knackered, so let's go and find a broken one. I think there's one behind me actually. So we've got one right here behind us, where it was a bit of scaffold board and some of the raised bed barge board, and you can see here I didn't use a bracket and I screwed into the end grain of the other board, and that basically didn't work. It just falls apart because the end grain has got no grip whatsoever. And then let's just go over here because we've got another example. So this one over here past the rhubarb bed is one that goes full width, so it goes right the way across the plot. I'll just take a little step back. You can see that one. It looks a little bit like a coffin, a very big coffin, but nevertheless it's bulged out at the sides, and that's because it's basically two smaller beds joined together with a bit of board and just a couple of little metal brackets. So that's not too bad. It's not rotten. We've got another one here where we'd gone into the end grain and you can see that it's rotted away. And then over here we've got a good example of what tends to happen. Is first of all, the bottom of the wood there has rotted, but also what you've got is, if I just lean back a little bit, you can see that the bed has started to bow out. That's just the weight of the soil. So ideally what you would do there is to put a stake on the outside of that plank when you first fit it, so that the plank remains straight regardless of the weight of soil in there. So these are the, like I say, these are the original beds. They've been in, I don't know, 12-14 years, not sure, a long time. However, I do remember that at the time I worked out how much each one of these cost, and it's basically a 10-foot board, and then that's like cut down to make two 4-foot boards. So each bed would be made of 3 10-foot boards, and one of them would be ripped down to make two 4-foot boards to make a 10x4 bed, including the hardware, so the angle bracket bits and the screws. At the time I worked out that they cost pretty much 12 quid a bed. So that is plot 4, and then we recently took on plot 5B. So after the escapades of all the weeding and taking out of the couch grass, we've done some raised beds on here. Now they're slightly different, and it's sort of the way I wanted to do them all along. So let's go through why these are a bit different. So we'll go with this one here. So what we've done is, on this, it's the same kind of board, it's just tannalised 1-inch board. Now this is only 5 inches by 1 inch compared to that stuff which is 6x1, but you know, not much in it really for a raised bed. I did look at getting 8-inch boards, but the price was significantly different, so I just stuck with the 5s. But what we've done on these ones is, on the corners we've just got some 2x1, and basically I cut that to around about 12 inches. Well, what I did was I actually cut the 2x1 at 24 inches and then did a diagonal going through at around the 12-inch mark. So basically cut it in half but with a diagonal, so it effectively had a spike. Stick a crowbar in the ground, give it a wiggle so there's a bit of a starter hole, and bang the thing in. So basically this little post here, there's like 5 inches above ground and there's about 7.5 inches or thereabouts below ground, depending on where I was cutting. And then all I've done is literally 2 screws into that little wooden support. This is all tannalised, so it should last a long time. But the advantage here is there's no metal hardware to rust or screws, to little dinky screws to fall apart, and we're not screwing into any end grain. So basically I've done that on all of these beds. Now the only difference on here, when I did it, I cut 2 offcuts at 18 inches and used them to space out the beds, because I knew we had some paving slabs. These were from our back garden when we had that repaved a couple of summers ago. So these beds are going to be nice and solid, because even if they're full, they're not really going to be able to expand much because of the concrete slabs in the way. We've done something similar here with some reclaimed brick, and then everywhere else is just full of wood chip. As an interim measure, we're not really worried this year, because the beds aren't really going to fill up that much, so I'm not too worried about putting any supporting stakes on the outsides to keep them nice and straight. We are also probably going to get some more paving slabs, so we will slab some of these paths. Even if we don't do the full path, I might just put a slab pretty much bang in the middle to give a little bit of support for the timber. So now the important question, cost. How much did each one of these beds cost? I was actually quite surprised when I worked it out. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8 big beds on here, then one sort of random sized one, and then a smaller strawberry bed. So I ordered a little tiny bit less timber than when we did all this behind me. But what did it work out as? So 12, 13, 14 years ago we were looking at £12 a bed, including the hardware and the screws. For these ones I worked out it was £13.50 a bed. So in fairness, you can't really grumble at a £1.50 price increase over the best part of 15 years. It's not bad at all. And so that's pretty much it. What would I do different? I'm not really sure. I'll have to see how these ones pan out and how they last, but if it's anything like the ones here and they last the best part of 14 years, I don't think I'm particularly worried about spending, to do these 8 big beds and the 2 random ones was £130. I'm not loath of spending what is effectively 10 quid a year. It's nothing. So there we go.